Hello dear friends, in my today video we will start with the topic plasmolysis. So exoosmosis, which we had already studied, exoosmosis in living cell when placed in the hypertonic solution, it is called plasmolysis. So let us study what hypertonic solution means. So there are three different types of solution. One is hypotonic, second one is hypertonic, and third one is isotonic. So hypotonic means when solution is weak and solvent is strong. Hypertonic when strong solution or weak solvent is there, and isotonic when both side concentration of solution is same in the cell. So with this help of this diagram you will be able to understand very easily. So first diagram you can see it is a hypertonic. When water is coming out of the cell, that time cell shrinks as water coming out of the cell and it will become flaccid. So this is hypertonic. The second one is isotonic, where water level inside and outside is same. And the third one is hypotonic, when water is going inside the cell. Okay, so then that time cell will swallow, and as water is entering into the cell, so cell will become turgid. So in hypertonic solution cell will become flaccid, in hypotonic solution cell will become turgid. So during plasmolysis, protoplast of cell shrinks and recedes from the cell wall and the cell will become flaccid, as we had already seen the diagram. So in the plasmolyte cell, Tp, turgor pressure, is always 0. When such cell placed in the hypotonic solution, the endoosmosis will happen and the cell will become turgid, and this is called deplasmolysis. So in the diagram it was easily able to understand. Then what is a path of water across the roots? The cortical cell, which has more OP means osmotic pressure, that will suck water from turgid root cells. Then that will become flaccid and again they will absorb water from the soil. So water from turgid cortical cell is sucked by inner cortical cells and the process will go on. So that is how the water will go up. Thus a gradient of suction pressure, that is DPD, which is known as diffusion pressure deficit, is developed from the cell of epiblema. Epiblema is endodermis cell to the cortex of the root. So water moves rapidly across the root through loosely arranged living cells of cortex, and they are followed by passage cell of endodermis, and finally it will go into the cell of pericycle where xylem and phloems are present. So absorption of water is a continuous process, thus a hydrostatic pressure is developed in the root cell, which is known as root pressure. So this is the diagram of pathway of water uptake by the roots. So in this diagram you can see there are symplastic path where water will enter into the cortex, it will go into the endodermis, and it will again go to the pericycle where xylem and phloem is present, and then it will go upward direction of the plant. Then next is mechanism of absorption of water. There are two ways or modes of absorption of water. One is passive absorption, two is active absorption. So let's study with the passive absorption. So about 90% of the total water absorbed in the plant is occurred passively. So this is really important, that the 98% of the total water absorption in plant is happen through the passive absorption process. So the driving process in transpiration pool, there is no expenditure of ATP, there is no energy required, and the rapid transpiration creates a tension in the xylem vessel due to the negative water potential. So this tension is transmitted to xylem in the roots, resulting the water is pulled upward passively. And most importantly, that the passive absorption is occur only during the daytime and it stop at nights. Then what is active absorption? That will be definitely opposite of the passive one. So water absorbed due to the activity of roots usually occurs at night and they requires energy, that is in the form of ATP, as absorption is against the dPd gradient, which is diffusion pressure deficit gradients. So it may be of two type again. When as osmotic, it may happen osmotic pressure, or it may happen through the non-osmotic absorption process. Then next is translocation of water. The transport of water with minerals from the root to the other part of plant against gravity is known as translocation, and other name is ascent of sap. So in vascular plants, translocation occurs through the lumen of conducting elements of xylem, tracheids and vessels. The ringing experiments has proved that the xylem is a path of ascent of sap. So there are some theories which explain transportation mechanism of water. So number one theory is root pressure theory. It was proposed by J. Priestley, and in which the living cell of root is responsible for translocation of water. Okay, so a hydrostatic pressure is developed in the living cell of cortex of root, due to which water conduct upward against the gravity. Root pressure termed by S. Hales, and the factors which are responsible or which influence this root pressure theory are oxygen, moisture, temperature of soil, salt content. They influence the root pressure theory. So but there are some limitation of root pressure theory. One is it is not applicable to plants taller than 20 meters. The ascent sap can also occur even in the absence of root system. 3 is in actively transpiring plant, no root pressure is developed. And 4, when xylem sap under normal condition is under tension, that is, it shows negative hydrostatic pressure or high osmotic pressure. So these 4 are the limitation where root pressure was not applicable. Then second theory came up, which is capillary theory, or it is also known as physical force theory. So the theory was put forth by Boehm in 1863, and according to this theory, a physical force and a dead cell are responsible for ascent of sap. So capillarity is because of surface tension, forces of cohesion and adhesion. So what is cohesion and adhesion? We will study, but I will just brief you about cohesion. It is an attraction between the like molecule or same molecules, or adhesion, it is an attraction between unlike molecule, which is different molecule. So these theory are the capillarity theories. So water column exists because of the combined cohesive and adhesive forces of xylem and the xylem wall due to the capillarity, and water raised against the gravity of few centimeters. The limitation of capillarity theory: the lower end of capillary tube, that is xylem, must be in direct contact with the soil water, so there is a barrier exists of root cortex between xylem and soil water. 2 is a capillary tube must be continuously hollow from one end to another end, but tracheids in xylem shows closed end walls. 3. The tall tree shows xylem vessels having wider diameter. So that is how those capillarity theory, which is a cohesion adhesion theory, was a limitation over the other theories. Then the cohesion and tension theory, which is also known as transpiration pull theory. So I'll just explain what is transpiration pull. So in this process, loss of water in the form of vapor through the leaves, so that the pulling force applies and water goes up in the direction in the plant. So this is widely accepted theory explaining ascent of sap in plants. It was put forth by Dixon and Joly in 1894. The theory is based on two principles, cohesion and adhesion, and number 2 is transpiration pull. So one is a strong force of attraction between the molecule is called cohesive force. I have already explained you. So while a strong force of attraction between water molecules and lignified walls of lumen of xylem vessel is called adhesive force. So due to combined adhesive and cohesive forces, a continuous water column is developed in the xylem right from root up to the upper parts of the plant. And what is transpiration pull? The excess water is lost in the form of vapors and mainly through the stomata found in the leaf. And this water loss increases in the DPD of mesophyll cells. These cells withdraw water from the xylem in the leaf, and thus the water is pulled upward passively against the gravity, leading to the ascent of the sap. There were some limitations of transpiration pull theory. So these are: number one is due to temperature fluctuation during day and night, sometimes gas bubble may enter into the water column which break the continuity. Number two is this mechanism assumes that the tracheids are more efficient than the vessels as their end walls support water columns. So vessels are more evolved and efficient. So these two are the limitations of transpiration pull theory also. So this is all about today's lecture. I hope you would like and understand some concept of plasmolysis, transpiration pull, some cohesive and adhesive nature of the roots. So in my next video I will explain about transport of mineral ions and transport of food and some process of transpiration. Thank you for watching.